Realm of the Mist podcast with your host, Chris Stolle, presented by Realm of the Mist Entertainment. Hey, what's up, guys? Chris Stolle here. Welcome to another Realm of the Mist podcast. I am joined today by Mr. Joe Cahill.
Hey, how's everybody doing tonight?
And my good friend who seems to have gone through puberty, Mr. Zephyr Zero himself, Keith Partlow.
He doesn't mean that. I just got a new mic. It's fine.
No,
pay no attention to the voice behind the mic.
Oh, I completely mean that. Like, he got his first pubic hair today. We're excited for him.
No, the fun part is going to be starting the rumor that like we just completely replaced Zephyr with an entirely different actor, and and just never speak of it ever again.
Hey, or we could bring light to it like George of the Jungle too. Wait a minute, you're not George. Me knew George. Disney too cheap for Brandon Fraser.
I forgot about that one. I completely forgot about that one. Didn't they have a Brendan Fraser cameo anyway?
I think they did. All right, so guys, we're here for one simple thing. Star Wars.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Now I'm gonna get this all out of the way here. Episode 9 dropped the trailer Monday night during the Monday Night Football game of two teams of I don't give a fuck and who fucking cares facing each other. And in the middle of it, everybody tuned in to catch the final teaser, or not teaser, it's the trailer itself. The final trailer of Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. For those of you that have not seen it yet or do not want anything spoiled for you, guys, this is your warning now. We are going to be talking about this trailer. We're going to be speculating about what this trailer and all the other trailers mean leading up to the movie. You've been warned. If you don't want to know anything about it, click off this video right now. If you don't want to see the trailer, I am going to put the trailer at the end of this episode. So you guys will be able to see the trailer yourself at the end of this episode if you haven't yet, or if you just want to see it again. So I do already have it saved on the computer for editing in at the end of the episode. But for now,
I'll put it in the middle of the episode.
I could put it in the middle of the episode, but that's more editing for me. I'd rather force everybody to listen to the show and then watch the trailer.
What do you mean more editing? It's more, here's the trailer, and then you plop it right in the middle of that pause.
Yeah, but how long's the trailer? 2.5 minutes? We have to sit quiet for 2.5 minutes.
No, we don't.
You cut it and you put it in there.
All right, fine. Here's the trailer.
It's an instinct. Feeling. The Force brought us together. We're not alone. Good people will fight if we lead them.
People keep telling me they know me. No one does.
But I do.
Long have I waited, and now you're coming together. Is your undoing.
What are you doing there, 3PO?
Taking one last look, sir. At my friends.
Confronting fear. It's the destiny of a Jedi.
Hey, how'd you guys enjoy that trailer? Let's talk about it. There, I edited it. I literally stopped the first half of the show from recording so that way I could drop the trailer right there and then started recording again right now.
First half of the show, we're looking like the first 5 minutes of the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Realm of the Mist podcast in which Zephyr is difficult.
And that's different from which other podcasts?
None of them, honestly.
All right, we're not here to talk about Zephyr. We're here to talk about Star Wars. Guys, I'm going to start, you know what? I'm going to make it difficult. Zephyr, you saw the trailer. What you think?
I'm definitely looking forward to the movie coming out. I might not go see it just because I don't see movies when they're in theaters. So I'll probably wait until it hits either DVD or Netflix or something, just because I don't usually go to the theater anymore. Unless I really, 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 really want to see the movie. And believe me, this one's close. It's close, but it's not quite Endgame level.
Wow, really?
Honestly, the whole not quite Endgame level is like Endgame was like a cultural event, and I couldn't not go. This is more like it's the end of the saga, and it's huge cultural touchstone. But like, I don't know if I have the time. It's like I'm busy most of the time, so going out to see it in theaters, and especially with a 4-month-old, it may or may not happen. But I'm definitely going to see it eventually.
Well,
I just don't know if I'll see it in theaters.
To quote a character from a different franchise, weren't you the one that always says that if something's important, you make the time? Quote Scotty from Star Trek.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure my kid's more important than a movie right now. But anyway, I digress. The trailer looked great. I like that it didn't really play into any of the wild fan theories that are flying around right now. With the whole like, oh, Rey's gonna turn to the dark side or blah blah blah, and Kylo's gonna be the real hero, and it's like, okay.
I don't know. I kind of dig that theory just because it's something different. It's not something that's really been done in Star Wars. The whole entire role reversal flip thing. So I don't mind that theory. The ones that bother me are always like the Reylo and stupid shit like that.
Honestly, what I'm hoping for what happens in Rise of Skywalker is I want Kylo and Rey to kind of like get together as people who know how the old way was done and are forging a new path, because the whole thing of like the last movie with Luke being like kill the past and blah 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 and all that, of like, I think what they're moving toward is that the way of the Jedi and the Sith are going to kind of disappear, and it's going to be a new path through the Force.
No, that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, I felt the same way. I speculated, I think, on a War of the Stars episode when we first heard about the title, Rise of Skywalker. My theory was that Skywalker becomes what the Jedi's new name. If that makes sense, like instead of being a Jedi Knight, you're a Skywalker.
That's kind of exactly what I was thinking, is because Luke was pretty much the start of telling Rey to start forging that new path.
Exactly. So I felt that's what the interpretation of the title is, because, you know, of course there's fan theories that Luke has figured out how to beat death, you know, and come back to life, or he's going to Force Ghost lightsaber battle Force Ghost Palpatine, or, you know, so many different weird theories, and I don't think it has to do with any of that. I think that's just wishful thinking of getting one last moment to shine with Mark Hamill when this is Rey's story.
I'm just going to be finally making the Gray Jedi thing canon.
No.
You're neither Jedi nor Sith. I mean, Gray Jedi is a terrible name for it, so I like the idea of them naming it something different. But the whole Gray Jedi concept of you're neither Jedi nor Sith, you're just something else entirely.
I don't want that justified. I hate that fucking concept so much.
But here's the great thing: if they make it in their own way in the actual Star Wars canon, Gray Jedi is no longer a thing.
Yeah, but then the same concept still is. Oh, I'm a good guy, but I get to use all the cool bad guy powers.
Yeah, that's like the most simplified version of the Gray Jedi, and I've always hated that. Like the whole point of the Gray Jedi concept was supposed to be a lot more nuanced than just I get to use all.
You could
the
be a
bad guy
Jedi and
powers.
still do that. Justify that. Look at Mace Windu.
It's called lawful evil.
It's called I'm gonna hack this dude up.
Great Jedi. I get to be a Jedi, but still use all the badass bad guy powers. D&D did that. How many decades ago? Yeah, it's called alignment.
Well, before we get too deep into that, though, let's get Joe's overall impression.
Like the trailer. It got my attention. I may actually end up going to a theater to see one when it first comes out. Haven't decided that for sure. Unlike, Zephyr,
Don't
have
get
a
me
teenage
wrong.
son
I
who
definitely want to, but I might not.
I have a teenage son who will want to go.
Yeah, my son's not quite that old.
No, I have that advantage.
Oh shit! That releases December 20th, right?
I think it's the 20th.
Yeah. Never mind. That's a month before my kid's birthday. I was gonna say I have to take my my son at least. It's his birthday, but no, it's a month ahead. So
After
screw him.
mine, so he'll have turned 18. But he's a total geek, so.
Oh, my kids already want to see it. But anyway, back to your overall.
My overall impression, I love the fact that we've got the Imperial classes back. I think they are a much cooler looking Star Destroyer than anything that has shown up in the First Order. That scene of them breaking out of the ice,
right?
That's what got my attention and said, okay, I think I want to see this.
Yeah,
as far as the Rise, was
that more than one of the Imperial class breaking out of the ice? Because it looked to me like it was just one.
They just was a close up on one. But we did see a fleet of them in the previous trailer.
And we did fair. And we did in this trailer too. I mean, it wasn't like, in the ice, but you did see like that one shot where it looked like people were walking on the hull of the Star Destroyer, and like a B-wing flew by or something like that, and that wasn't clouds. That was more Star Destroyers, Imperial class.
My Star Wars battle lore is rusty. Did they manage to shoot down any Star Destroyers on Hoth?
On Hoth?
Not on Hoth.
No.
They hit one with the ion cannon.
Yeah.
Okay.
For a while, but it was back in the fight pretty quick.
I'm just trying to think of any ice planets I know that Star Destroyers went down on to try and, place the scene.
There was the one in the sand.
Well,
in The Force Awakens.
Yeah, that was Jakku.
Yeah.
Well, one thing about this trilogy of movies is they haven't really been visiting previously established planets within Star Wars. This, obviously, we because of the Death Star 2 and looks like with Rey's training, we're obviously, if nowhere else, we're going to Endor.
Right.
It definitely looked like it.
Well, I mean, even if Rey's training, which was the opening sequence, isn't Endor, the main battle between Kylo and Rey is going to be there. I mean, we had a shot of them facing off in the throne room of the Death Star 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's on Endor. I mean, unless they try to justify that pieces blew out all throughout the galaxy and it landed on some obtuse planet we've never heard of before now.
Can I just say I also love the cinematography of the trailer, and they make it look like Rey and Kylo could be working together, but you're not quite sure because it could just as easily be a confrontation.
Well, that's J.J. Abrams. J.J.'s very good at red herrings and misleading.
Yeah, let's just hope they don't take a page out of Marvel's book and actually put fake scenes into the trailer.
I think the only Star Wars trailer I could think of that ever did that was Rogue One. And two scenes come to mind. One where Felicity Jones was walking on that bridge part to that dish, and a TIE fighter rose up and confronted her like feet in front of her. That was never in the movie, and neither was Vader looking at the red radar screen, which was the first.
Now you gotta understand, from a director-producer's point of view, a lot of stuff makes it into trailers and then edits out later on.
That is fair.
Out of the actual film.
That is fair, and that's true. But the point was that like
it's a really cool scene.
It's a really cool scene. But the point was like out of all the Star Wars trailers that I've ever seen, and this is also going back to the original trailers and the prequel trailers. I think Rogue One was the only time I ever saw scenes that were not in the film at all.
So, I bring it up because like much like Joe covered, a lot of sometimes the scenes were actually shot and just weren't put in the movie. I do bring it up specifically for Marvel because it's actually confirmed that they did shoot specific scenes for the trailers that were never planned for the actual movie whatsoever.
Well, I don't know if Star Wars has ever done that. Like I said, with the exception of Rogue One, which could be like Joe said, it was just something that landed on the editing room floor.
We won't know that till the director's cut comes out.
Exactly,
Yeah.
But with Kevin Feige starting to do Star Wars films, you never know. You could start seeing that happening in the future.
I'm pretty sure he's the one that started it with Marvel.
Probably. What's that, Joe?
Wants to build the hype.
Exactly.
We have to keep them guessing. We can't show them scenes from the big battle scene as they actually are going to be.
Well, see, that's the thing I'm curious about with some of these scenes. Like you said, where it looks like Rey and Kylo are working together, like in that really white room hallway area where they are cutting down what looks like a Marvel statue or something.
Also, the one I believe it was Kylo was walking toward Rey, and they're on top of the ship, I think.
Oh, and with all the fog in the water.
And he saber into an offhand or a backhand, holding it backhand, and that's not the kind of thing you do when you're about to fight the person you're walking toward. I mean, unless you're Starkiller.
Well, that's fair enough, but I hearken back to The Last Jedi, and where everybody thought the trailer cut of Rey cutting, saying that she doesn't know her place and all this, and needs somebody to show her the way or whatever, and then in the trailer it cuts to Kylo putting his hand out to her. And, of course, both scenes were in the film, but they were completely out of context in the trailer to build the suspense and drama, of course. So who's to say that the way the trailer was edited, that those scenes, although in the film, are completely not connected to each other in any way, shape, or form?
Right. That's what I meant when I originally brought it up. It looks like they could be, but you're never quite sure, because all of the scenes that are in there that kind of lend credence to that theory could just as easily be confrontations or exposition.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next step because I definitely want to tear this apart detail by detail if we can, because there was a lot of juicy things in this. But there's two things I want to bring up beforehand. One, do you feel that it showed enough to hype this movie with really not revealing anything about the movie?
Hyped me. And Star Wars hasn't done that for a while.
You know,
Probably not since Rogue One with the scene where she's up on the tower and the type.
God damn it, that scene's gonna haunt me. But they gave me Vader in a hallway, so I'll be okay with it.
that was worth it right there.
That was price of admission right there. You could have cut the rest of the movie and just had, I would have paid the $20 to watch that 2-minute scene.
Rogue One was worth it with the dude walking through the blaster fires, chanting, "I am one with the Force, and the Force is one with me," to hit the button. That was worth it. Blind dude just gonna walk right through, and the Force is gonna keep me safe.
The funniest thing about that is if you guys ever watch Cinema Wins on YouTube, they did a everything great about Rogue One, and one of the funniest lines is "No look shot." Bet we'll never see that again. Because there was a lot of like Han Solo style look away shots, where people fire a gun or whatever, and they're not looking at the target when they do it. And the one line is like when Chirrut changes his bow into a basically like a bow and arrow bowcaster and shoots down a TIE fighter. He's like, "No, is it fair to say no look shot when the character's blind?" Yeah, no look shot.
Oh man.
Yeah,
I really liked the CinemaSins video for Rogue One because they did pretty much the same thing with the character. They took off a couple of sins for the walking through and pushing the button.
Ah, he was totally badass. Greatest part of the Cinema Wins though was the Vader scene. As soon as Vader's breathing started and the lightsaber ignited, dude's like counter just went up, 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 and he's like incoherently babbling, and all of a sudden he just blacks out. It's like, sorry, did I black out again? Yeah. It went from like 23 wins to like 235 wins just because of Vader ignited the lightsaber. Yeah. But no, so Joe, in your opinion, you definitely feel that this hyped the final movie of the saga.
I think that's the big thing right there. They're pushing that real hard. This last trailer, the first couple trailers were okay. This trailer, I think it was just exciting scene after exciting scene. Whether they're in order to to mystify us or confuse us, the scenes were just phenomenally chosen
and well shot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what about you, Keith? Do you think do you think this is a worthy trailer to the final movie of a 40-year saga?
It is definitely designed to hype. We'll have to see once the movie comes out and actually get a chance to see it, whether it's worth the hype. Because Star Wars has been kind of a roller coaster ride when it comes to the movies over the years.
But is it the movies or the critics of it? Because I'm a Star Wars fan, and I'm from the old school original, and yeah, there's some movies I like more than others. But to me, a bad Star Wars movie is like bad pizza. It's still pizza.
There's still there's things to love and hate about every Star Wars movie,
except Empire and Rogue One. No, sorry, go ahead.
There's things to love and hate about every Star Wars movie, but every movie has its individual merits, and you kind of have to judge each individual movie on its own, or where it sits in its trilogy. because there are people out there that don't even accept the fact that the prequels exist.
Those people need to get lives.
Yes, they do.
They're done. They're there.
Well, here's the thing, and because I want to stay on the trailer, I'll just say this about it. You don't like the prequels, you don't like the sequels. It didn't ruin Star Wars for you that they still exist. You could still watch just the original trilogy and be content. Don't blast anybody else because they enjoyed something you didn't.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Problem solved. I wish. So anyway, back on the trailer at hand, and the biggest question for both you guys before we get into individuality of this trailer. Do you feel this trailer in any way, shape, or form is going to put some people's fear at ease after the backlash of Last Jedi? Now, understand, I'm not a person who hates Last Jedi. But there was a lot of things that I felt either JJ was either going to retcon or he was going to use as a red herring. Do you guys get that impression from this trailer? And do you think the people who disliked Last Jedi are going to walk out of this film going, oh, now it makes sense?
I feel like a lot of the people who disliked the Last Jedi are going to walk out of Rise of Skywalker still complaining. Because at this point, while there were some reasons to criticize The Last Jedi, a lot of the criticism getting was mostly just because a bunch of fanboys on the internet didn't get their theory proven correct.
Pretty much.
And they were mad about it.
Well, these are the same people that were mad at this trilogy because this trilogy wasn't what they've grown up reading in the EU and Legends. They wanted the Thrawn trilogy, and instead they got this.
Exactly.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
Everybody else was out there hoping Thrawn trilogy. I was just sitting there hoping to see the Young Jedi Knight series come to the big screen.
You know what I was hoping when they announced that they were doing a Star Wars movie? That it'd be something that I would enjoy and be proud to have in my collection. Thus far, they're movies I enjoy and I'm proud to have them in my collection. I'm easily amused.
I own every one of them. They're part of my collection.
Honestly, the only real misstep I have seen so far of the new trilogy is the space bombers didn't make a whole ton of sense to me.
Why?
They
For
were,
one, slow as shit. And you're out in space. Come on.
Yeah, they were slow as shit. Two, they were gravity-based bombers in space. Does anyone else see the issue here?
Actually, no, and I'll explain why. Because the bombs had weight in the chamber that they were held in on the artificial gravity of the jet, plane, bomber, whatever you want to call it. Its inertia, or not its inertia, but its momentum would not shift once it hits the vacuum of space. It's already heading in that direction.
Right, but it's also going to continue moving forward, too. Well, that actually probably explains why they moved slow as shit.
Exactly. It makes sense. It's just people want to believe that, space should be like those bombs would fall out of the bomber bay and just float off everywhere, instead of just continuing their trajectory from initial release inside a gravity field.
Actually, military standpoint, the bombers were a mistake.
Yeah, I still
as a retired Navy officer. I
still got to agree with Joe on this one. From a military standpoint, the bombers were a mistake. They were way too slow for what they were trying to pull off.
No, I agree with that completely. Like, as far as logistics is concerned, were the bombers a good idea? No, not at all. But as far as the science of bombers dropping bombs in space, I just explained how that worked.
Yeah, the physics checks out. It's still.
But why is it necessary?
It still feels weird as shit to me, as a moviegoer perspective. But again, with the whole military perspective, the bombers were a mistake because we've already seen in universe that they have much better tech that does the same job.
No, you're right, because the B-Wings and the Y-Wings, which were seen throughout the original trilogy and Rogue One, they are bombers.
The TIE bomber.
Well, TIE
From,
bomber, but
Empire.
But
that's the other
that was the
side.
Imperial. Yeah.
But I mean, that's showing you they can be effective if built and used properly.
Well, was the TIE bomber effective? I mean, the only thing we ever saw it do was dropping
Dropping the bombs, but I think it would
dropping
work
it on
out
an
about
asteroid.
the same. Yeah, I think it would work out about the same as the Y-Wing.
Yeah, so but either way, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. There was better ships and better, faster ships that could have delivered the same payload, but you know, I just like disproving that argument that those bombs would not work in space. Yeah, they would. Were they a good idea? No, but they would work.
Speaking of ships, though, like, you know what I really, or actually going back to the trailer, like the frickin' all the different resistance ships all there, and you can see a bunch of the ships in the background in sort of pseudo silhouette.
You talking about that one shot where like you have an entire fleet behind the Falcon, and
Yep.
there was a lot of ships in that shot. But what's funny is right off to the right, first Easter egg you get is the Ghost
Yep.
from Rebels.
And that might be a ship of the same class as the Ghost, might be the Ghost, or it could just be an Easter egg.
Well, that was definitely going to be one of the things I was going to ask is that, you know, if it is the Ghost, are we going to get a glimpse of a live-action Hera Syndulla?
Potentially.
It's just an Easter egg.
Speaking of,
They're just throwing it in there for the fans to say, "See, look, we even put that ship in for you," and it helps to build the hype.
You know what ship I want to see finally on the big screen? Freaking K-Wing. I love those motherfuckers. I want to see them.
I want to see a return of the U-Wing. We only got them in Rogue One. That was a pretty badass fighter / transport. I wouldn't mind seeing that returned.
The U-Wings were very interesting.
But I also wouldn't mind the Z-95s, which were Imperial class fighter / shuttles. But that was non-canon. That was extended universe. But
makes me wonder if they have a wing for every letter of the alphabet.
That's what I used to think as a kid. Yeah. But all right, so we want to jump off of the overall and go into the details. I'll start off with the big one that just, out of everything that we saw out of that trailer, and I mean there was a lot to intake. I think the one thing that hit me the most was the 3PO scene.
Yeah, the one last look at my friends.
Look at my friends. I mean
that's definitely not foreshadowing or anything.
Well, you think about the previous trailer, we got, red-eyed 3PO, and now we have in this trailer him having this little alien creature tinkering with the back of his head and delivering that line. Are we talking about death of 3PO, or is 3PO sacrificing himself for something? Or is this how the Emperor returns? Because we never really see the Emperor's face. The only thing we saw was his robes and some form of mechanical chair or something that he's, gliding towards Rey in that thing. So one fan theory is maybe 3PO is possessed with the quote-unquote spirit of the Emperor, or programmed with it.
Plot twist: 3PO is pretending to be the Emperor in the world's longest con against the First Order.
I think the surprise is going to be that the Rebel fleet is also going to have the remnants of the First Order or something, because nobody's going to want Palpatine back.
They pitched the idea to 3PO to pose as the Emperor, and 3PO's just like, why not? I was a god once.
So that line, I mean, it was a double indemnity for me because, I mean, one, it is like, what is 3PO talking about? But at the same time, you can't help but almost feel like it's Anthony Daniels saying, you know, taking one last look at this universe because I'm never going to be 3PO again.
Yeah,
I think that's definitely what they were trying to imply.
I definitely think it's one of those many layered things.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely included the line in the movie somehow, at least in the trailer, because it was a line in the movie. And they definitely included it in the trailer to evoke that feeling of finality. And it could potentially mean that 3PO is sacrificing himself, or that 3PO is getting deactivated for one reason or another or whatever. But who knows?
Then again, he may have just been getting a mind wipe.
Possibly as well.
Because he's the only droid in the Star Wars universe that consistently gets a fucking mind wipe. Like, if there was ever anything wrong with Revenge of the Sith, in my mind, is the fact that at the end of it, when they go, you know, when he gives R2 and 3PO to Captain Antilles, and he tells them to get the protocol droid's mind wiped. Nobody wiped R2. He knew everything, and that bastard didn't say shit.
I mean, I think there was no need to wipe R2 because it's like, oh, how the hell is he gonna communicate to anybody else? What's going on?
Come on! The first time he's plugged into an X-wing with Luke, and he realizes that Luke's last name is Skywalker. Hey, I knew a Skywalker. Maybe you guys are related. He turned into Darth Vader.
I mean, we don't necessarily know exactly how. Well, I'm rusty on how my astromech droids work, but I don't know if he could just like start text chatting Luke in the X-wing. Granted, I'm not very familiar with their avionics systems either, so.
Well, if you watch like Empire and Jedi, he has interactions with R2 in the cockpit where he looks at a little screen and it's giving up the little Star Wars language on it whenever R2 speaks. So I do think it was a talk-to-text for R2, or at least a computer system that translated his beeps and whirls, and so that Luke knew what he was saying.
R2, you knew him? Why didn't you ever tell me? It never came up.
Exactly. R2's a dick. He knew all about everything, and nobody said shit.
You know, it almost makes me want to go back and rewatch the entire original trilogy and see if, like, every time there was a chance for R2 to tell Luke something more important's not going on or something. It's like, oh,
no, nothing's going on.
This would be a great chance to tell Luke all about his dad and all that. And oh shit, we're being shot at.
Yeah, oh wait, did I mention I know Yoda?
Right? Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to take the lamp away from him. Come on.
Okay, but for the entire time that they were there, they didn't have.
One more time, you broke up.
The entire time they were there, they didn't have really access to the X. It was stuck in the swamp.
True.
So if Luke and R2 were truly relying on this talk-to-text system that the X-Wing seemed to have, there really wouldn't be any way for Luke to truly understand what R2 was saying. He could guess, which I think is what was happening based on some of Luke's dialogue choices there.
True. But then again, I mean, it's a weird world in the new sequel because people understand BB-8 without a translator.
Yeah, that's the thing I've noticed. Do people just instinctively know how to talk to the beeping droids, or is it just hand wavy? This is just how it works.
I don't know. I guess they're just trying to say that this is how it works now, or that people 30 years since Jedi have learned to speak binary code, which I assume is what the beeps and whirls is supposed to be anyway.
Hey, if people can understand Wookiee and well, actually Groot's not a Star Wars language, but close enough. I figure people can understand beeps.
I am Groot. I am Steve Rogers.
My favorite bit of MCU lore is Thor casually pointing out that Groot was offered as an elective at Asgard.
Oh man, but but staying on Star Wars. I mean, I love Marvel, and we could definitely have Marvel conversations. But
I'm pretty sure they had a similar line in the Solo movie with regards to Wookiee. Kashyyykian.
The only thing I remember being stated in Solo was when Chewie and Han were trapped in the cell, and Chewie was trying to drown him in the mud, and he started, doing the growls and grunts and shit, and Chewie looked at him. It's like, yeah, I know a little, okay. And that was about it. Like, I don't think they really delved that much further into it. It's just, okay, Han knows a little Wookiee.
Yeah, I didn't remember whether or not they explained where he picked.
Well, I imagine it's because he was a street kid on Cordelia, and he was working for that underground thieves guild, for lack of a better term, and probably had to deal with Wookiees at the time, at least refugee ones, because we know the Empire was hunting down and enslaving the Wookiees.
Mm-hmm.
So he probably picked it up that way. But who knows? They never really explored it that much. They may have in books.
Probably has a little bit of a lot of languages. Enough to say, boss wants his money.
Well, that in effect, I mean, talking about the Star Wars universe, it's the same as like Star Trek. Now, Star Trek kind of cheats a little bit with the universal translator, but you figure you live in this reality where there's so many different creatures speaking so many different languages, and it's not like, if we base it in reality where we have like so many people who speak so many different languages, but we're all human beings. We all have the same vocal abilities. Our mouths move the same, our vocal cords work the same, so we can make the same sounds. Creatures in the Star Wars universe may not be able to use common or English or whatever the case may be, so you kind of have to learn at least to understand their other languages, because they're incapable of speaking the way you and I speak.
It makes sense.
So
you were saying with the R2 of hey, I know Yoda, like Chewbacca is just as guilty.
True. But you know what? There was no interaction between Yoda and Chewbacca in the original trilogy, so that's kind of forgiving. Like,
but Luke did definitely mention him.
I imagine he probably did at some point, but again, did he do it around Chewie? I don't remember him doing so. Because even when he went to go see Yoda, whether in Empire or to go back to see Yoda in Jedi, he never mentioned that he was going to see a Jedi Master on Dagobah. He just said, I have a promise to keep to an old friend or whatever.
Possibly.
You know what I mean? So
and
it's been a
Lando
while.
And Chewie were heading straight out to go look for Han.
Right. So I don't think again, not to rain on your parade or anything here, but I don't think there was ever interaction between Luke and Chewie to where Luke would have mentioned it, because if I remember correctly, even in the books, like the novella versions of the movies, Luke didn't even mention it to Leia that he was training with Yoda during the time that it happened, or afterwards with Jedi after they saved Han.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he didn't.
His mind was on other things.
I don't even think he even mentioned it to Vader that he trained under Yoda.
No, because Vader was always under the impression that it was Obi-Wan.
Yep.
Obi-Wan has trained you well, has taught you well.
Speaking of Obi-Wan and Vader, any chance we're going to get an Ewan McGregor or Hayden Christensen cameo appearance in some way, shape, or form?
There's definitely the possibility.
Force Ghost, Ewan.
Force Ghosts.
Well, we got to have a Force Ghost Ewan because we can't have Alec Guinness.
I will only accept the Force Ghost Ewan McGregor if his first line in appearance is "Hello there."
Oh, it's got to be there. It absolutely has to be there.
Hello there.
Hello there.
And well, another line that was in the movie that again harkens back to my question of retconning or repairing things from Last Jedi. We were talking about it earlier with the scene where Rey's standing on top of the Star Destroyer as it's rising from the waters or whatever, right before Kylo comes out of the fog, smoke, whatever. You know, she says a line that everybody says they know me, but nobody knows me. Now, let's forget a moment that Kylo responded and said, "But I know you." You know, for a minute. And do you think this line is a direct statement to the fact that Kylo lied in Last Jedi in saying that Rey's parents were nobodies? And that JJ is going to be turning this story back to Rey is connected to somebody in some way, that whether it's a Kenobi, a Skywalker, whatever the case may be, she's not just a nobody from drunken parents that sold her for drinking money.
I think it's possible that they're doing a little bit of retconning, although it's not really retconning if you're basically just changing up the final result. Because Kylo saying your parents were nobodies doesn't necessarily make it a retcon. It just means that we weren't given the full story at the time, and that may or may not have been the original plan the whole time.
See, I stated that from the beginning, but I used the term retcon because of how many people were so pissed off that she's a nobody. And you know what? I don't care if she's a nobody. To me, it's more about it feels like it falls flat from The Force Awakens with the way it was set up. Again, I harken back to her vision when she grabbed Anakin's lightsaber. And the final part, the only voices you ever get out of the whole entire thing outside of like echoey no's and Vader breathing and stuff like that, the only voices you get at in that vision is Obi-Wan Kenobi's.
Mm-hmm.
Alec Guinness and McGregor both doing lines, but I mean, the only one that was coherent in that whole entire vision was Obi-Wan, which has had me steadfastly believing that she is related. She's a Kenobi. But
yeah, possibility and good theory.
But with I felt like with the Kylo saying you're a nobody, you come from nothing. I didn't care that she didn't come from a lineage. What I cared about is it felt like it just kind of threw away a storyline that they kind of built.
I mean, it's not like it's not a trope. The whole "you are not the one." Oh, it turns out you are the one.
True.
Like that I hate that I keep referencing different movies when we're trying to talk about Star Wars, but like the most famous instance of this trope is The Matrix, where the Oracle flat out tells Neo he's not the one, and she told him what he needed to hear.
Right.
So it might be that Kylo told Rey that your parents are nobodies because that's what he needed her to hear at the time so that she would break.
Exactly. Which is exactly how I took it from the first time I saw Last Jedi. It's like, you know, I had a James Earl Jones moment, you know, where I was sitting there. If you ever watched Empire of Dreams, the documentary of the Star Wars trilogy, James Earl Jones talks about like when he first read the "I am your father" line, and he said, as an observer, he looked at the script and he's like, he's lying. I wonder how they're going to play that lie out. Well, that's exactly my reaction in the theater watching Last Jedi, and he said that you're nobody, you come from nothing. I'm like, oh, he's full of shit.
Just trying to get the anger.
Like that's the thing that everybody like forgot when that line was delivered, is they were trying to get Rey to break.
Yep.
They were pretty much torturing her. You can't really trust anything the captor says in that kind of scenario, because they're going to say exactly what they need to say in order to get you to say what they want to hear.
Exactly. It was just manipulation on Kylo's part, wanting her to join him in the dark side. So the best way to do it is to break her emotionally. That was exactly what I took it as from the first viewing of Last Jedi, but I couldn't believe how many people took it as like, well, this is canon, and that's it, forgetting there's a third movie coming anyway. But I mean, that's canon, this is it. Now, oh my God, again, like you said at the beginning of the show, you just destroyed my fan theory.
Yeah. It's like looking at it through the lens of a captor-captive interrogation thing there, like, that was almost exactly the line that Kylo was going to follow up "You came from no one, you're a nobody, but I can make you somebody."
Right. Well, that he kind of gave something similar to that. If you remember, he's like, you come from nothing, you're nothing, except to me. That was the line he gave, instead of saying I can make you somebody, it's except to me.
Right, exactly. Like it's that is 100% a manipulation, and not necessarily an extracting information technique, but that's definitely a what's the word I'm looking for? Trying to convince somebody to switch sides.
It's a straight up Palpatine maneuver.
When you're
to like Luke in the throne room.
Yeah, when you're trying to get somebody to switch sides, that's what you do. Is you basically tell them that they are nothing to who they've been loyal to this whole time, and that you can definitely make them better. Yeah, you can make them somebody.
It's manipulation. It goes along the same lines as, like, women who stay with abusive husbands.
It's what belong.
But again, we keep going off topic. We keep talking about everything but this trailer.
Oh, that's absolutely still on topic.
Oh, we're still on topic because it's still Star Wars. But I mean, maybe that's a good thing. Is that something this trailer does? Is it makes us go back and look at all the other films and the interconnections to all of it.
Speaking of Kylo and Rey, did anyone get a good look at whatever the hell that thing they were smashing was, or disintegrating, or?
I think they were in the middle. I honestly think it was as innocuous as they were in the middle of a lightsaber battle and they destroyed a statue. What that statue was, it could have been a Palpatine for all I know. It definitely wasn't a Jar Jar Binks, because I would have applauded.
You mean the creature behind everything in the Sith?
Oh my God! If JJ has the balls to pull that off, any negatives I've ever said about the Disney-led Star Wars, which hasn't been much, but any negative I ever said about Disney Star Wars would be automatically retconned. Just like if you have the balls to have Jar Jar be the one in charge of everything that's happened.
He's plagious.
Holy shit. That almost no, he was in front of never mind. I was going to say it almost makes sense since Jar Jar and Sidious have never been in the same room, but I forgot he was the one that put Sidious in power of the Republic.
That was just part of his plan.
Yeah.
I would honestly probably accept the Jar Jar Binks being the mastermind theory, more than George Lucas's original plan for like where the series was going to go.
Which was?
Are you familiar with the story of the Wills?
Yeah.
So, I granted it's George Lucas's creation. He's allowed to take the story in any direction he wants. I feel like the whole taking things to the Wills being these microscopic entities that control the Force. It's a bit like jumping the shark.
Well, not really. I mean, again, that's something that was taken out of context by fans, at least in my opinion. The Force has always been a mystical energy field that surrounds and penetrates all living things. That's never been in dispute when they introduced things like the midichlorians. What the midichlorians were supposed to do, two things. One, they were supposed to give a quantifiable ability to say how powerful Vader was. And so it was a throwaway line for that. But two, the explanation of the midichlorians was the fact that they were the reason why Jedis could manipulate and use the Force, where normal people like you and I cannot.
Right. Like I don't mind the concept of the midichlorian. It's just I feel like having the characters of the Star Wars trilogy go to the world of the Wills by like shrinking down to microscopic size was a bit like jumping the shark. Like,
so he was taking Star Wars to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yes, that was his original plan. Like
okay.
he talked about it in interviews and such of like where he originally planned on having the series go after the original trilogy. And like I feel like that was jumping the shark a bit. Like no, you can definitely bring up the concept of the Wills and like that they're the reason for the manifestation of the midichlorians and all, but like don't Ant-Man it. You don't need that. You don't need it.
All right, well, Joe, you've been quiet in this. I'm gonna throw one at you. You specifically. I'll come back to Zephyr, but Donald Gleason, aka Mr. General Hugs, in The Force Awakens, he had a pretty badass personality as far as being the leader of the First Order, as far as military aspect. And, of course, he Hitlered it up great on Starkiller Base. But then in Last Jedi, he became a punk character who was there for comedy relief. Do you think Hugs is going to get redeemed in this movie? I don't mean redeemed as in he's a good guy. I mean character goes full circle back into being a threatening leader. Though coward, threatening leader, and not just a cell phone yo mama joke.
I think he's going to stay as kind of the comic relief for Kylo.
All right.
Unfortunately, they're going to keep him as a punk character now, because he was such a badass in the first film of the trilogy. This is showing how powerful Kylo has become as far as being the new supreme leader, by how easily he can cow.
Fair enough. And go ahead, Zep. I'm sure you got an opinion on that too.
I mean, it's time we've seen a badass character be turned into an absolute punk, and it's also not the first time we've seen a character who has by no rights to even be considered a badass character turned into a badass character. I'm looking at you, Boba Fett.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry to break your fanboy hearts, but Boba Fett was garbage. In fact, epic rap battles of history, Deadpool versus Boba Fett, they explained it perfectly in one little line. You have 5 lines in the trilogy, and one of them was "ah,"
followed by a belch. Yeah,
you had 5 lines in the original, and one of them was a Wilhelm scream.
Yep. Well, let's be real. I mean, Boba Fett was a bounty hunter that's supposed to be most feared in the galaxy, and his death was he got poked in the back with a stick by a blind guy, and that forced him into a toothy butthole.
Yep.
You're a punk.
and they to be fair, they did play up Boba Fett as being this galactic badass beforehand, because like you were supposed to be afraid of him, and he was one of the best of the bounty hunters, and to have him die in a punk way like that is almost kind of like all General Hux in the Last Jedi, going from badass evil character to ramp up the tension to basically being turned into a punk.
Well, it also fits in too with the prequels and discovering that Boba was an unaltered clone of Jango. And, you know, just like all the other clones. Now, I know stormtroopers aren't clones. The clone troopers were clones. But,
right.
You know, the fact of the matter is a lot of their ineptitude.
I do appreciate the Force Awakens for clarifying that, because I know a lot of people weren't actually sure. And I know it was canon in the extended universe that, you know, the clone troopers and the stormtroopers were two different things. But, like, a lot of people got it conflated of, like, oh my gosh, all the stormtroopers are clones? Because, like, as soon as Clone Wars came out, they just made the assumption that the clone troopers went on to become the stormtroopers.
Yeah, when the Emperor didn't trust the clones. He used them, but like within the story, after the end of the Clone Wars and the rise of the Empire, he had the clones destroyed.
Yep.
And he just started recruiting.
I appreciate the Force Awakens for like clarifying that by basically the character of Finn. Of you're a stormtrooper, and you are not a clone.
He wasn't a Fett when he took off the helmet.
Right. Well, it was not just that. They also had a throwaway line in The Force Awakens between Hux and Kylo when they were talking about trying to find the BB unit that had the map to Skywalker. And, you know, Hux's troops were failing, especially with Finn, you know, bailing out and betraying the First Order. And Kylo's response was, maybe I should recommend a Supreme Leader Snoke about using a clone army.
Because that definitely went well the first time.
Technically, it did. It put the Emperor in power. If you want to be real, the clones were the reason, you know, everything changed in the galaxy, and the Empire, or the Galactic Republic, fell.
That's fair.
You know, but and they were a hell of a lot more effective than the Sith when you think about it, because they were the ones that killed all the Jedi.
Execute Order 66.
Yeah, you know. But let's talk about some of the visuals we've seen. We've seen that one ice glacier on a mirror smooth lake, it seems like, where we got a perfect reflection of it, where it almost looked like it was just a chunk of ice in space, you know, or something where the Falcon was flying to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, of course, we got the scene of the Millennium Falcon with a shit ton of Resistance ships behind it, and of course, we've seen scenes of like the rise of the Imperial Star Destroyers and all that. Are we setting up for probably the mother of epic space battles? Like, are we going to rival or surpass the opening of Revenge of the Sith in some form of space dogfight between the First Order / Empire and the collected Resistance?
It's a possibility. Honestly, the thing I'm most interested in is that opening scene of the trailer, because that definitely looked like Endor. And the helmet that Rey dropped was pretty much exactly the same as the helmets they had for the Endor gear.
True. Very, very true. I definitely think that was Endor, but I'm fair enough to say that it maybe she's training somewhere else. You know, if that was even a training sequence, that may not have been training. She may have been running away from something. We don't know. Again, it's taking it out of context because it is a trailer.
Yeah, my big question is, if we are going back to Endor, does that mean we're going to see a return of the Ewoks?
Oh God, I hope so. I know. There are people cursing my name right now, but I do. I hope the Ewoks make an appearance in some way, shape, or form.
And
you just took out two of the largest groups in this episode.
Will they grant my wish if they do show the return of the Ewoks? Because I think it would be the most hilarious thing ever to have a scene of the Ewoks cooking a porg over a spit.
But we already had kind of that with Chewie in Last Jedi. He was cooking a porg over the spit.
I'm saying keep it going.
I'm waiting for. I want to see a trooper on the spit. Come up carving a stormtrooper up, you know.
See, if I really want the Ewoks in there, that's how I want them portrayed. Is not the cutesy little teddy bears that everybody always looked at the Ewoks to be. They're fucking murder bears. And they
are things of nightmare.
They are things of nightmare, and the worst thing George Lucas ever did with the special editions is make them fucking things blink. But no, I don't want the Ewoks involved in a fight like they did in Return of the Jedi, but I definitely think we should see Ewoks on Endor if that's where we are.
Didn't
you have to
in the extended universe? Didn't Luke set up a Jedi temple on Endor, or was that
no? It was Yavin
4.
Yeah.
No, he set up the temple in Yavin 4.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, led to other problems.
Yeah. Building over top of an existing Sith temple and
it's been a bad choice.
Yeah.
Well,
so back to the visuals.
You see, Yoda left me this old map that had location of all these different temples, but they neglected to mark which ones were Sith controlled and which ones were Jedi controlled.
Oh, come on.
Toss up.
Come on, it's simple enough to figure out. Just look at the holocrons. Jedi holocrons are square and yellow, and Sith holocrons are red and triangles. It ain't that hard. We could figure that out.
Yeah, little did Luke know that the symbols for the spots were the shapes of the holocrons.
Yeah.
So like all the Jedi temples are blue squares, all the Sith temples are like little red triangles.
Little red lightsabers.
I just don't know. They're not marked.
Yeah,
It's the Force, Luke.
Han rolls his eyes.
The do not enter signs didn't give it away either. No trespassing. But of course we got to announce or talk about how we had 2 scenes with Lando. We still haven't gotten any dialogue from Lando. But we have gotten 2 scenes. One again where he's piloting the Millennium Falcon with Chewie.
He's like the last one left because they killed Luke. Very unfortunate. They killed Han.
Well, they are using Carrie in this. They're using unreleased footage edited in to have her be in this film. Now. How much
the stuff they were able to shoot ahead of time, so like there's not going to be anything else after this, so they gotta wrap the story up pretty tight.
So I don't know if they're going to have her like be dead already and it's just kind of like flashbacks or something like that. I don't know if they're going to end her early because they don't have a whole lot of footage. She may survive the saga, who knows.
We don't know how they're going to do that. And I'm kind of thinking Lando is showing up to help rally. Oh, look, it's a hero of the original rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
We should go help fight too. Kind of the same reason I think Wedge is going to show up.
Yeah.
I don't think Dennis Lawson's gonna do it. Now, if they get another actor to play Wedge, then sure. But the original actor, that's like
They already confirmed he was gonna be appearing
in the film.
Yeah.
Well, you haven't been checking on your.
Nah, I guess I haven't, or at least I missed that one. Last I knew, he still wanted nothing to do with Star Wars.
Checks can do a lot.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I last I knew, he was still down the same road as David Prowse. Different reasons, just But while that's getting IMDb'd, what other scenes can we talk about here? There was a lot of different lightsaber situations within this trailer. Again, don't know if it's one continuous fight in different locations or if it's something that's going to be throughout the whole entire movie. But overall, what do you guys think? Is it just going to be like again, going back to Revenge of the Sith, where they went everywhere with the lightsaber battle? Or is it just going to be they're going to constantly run into each other, have a couple little, snick, and then get separated in some way, shape, or form until we get to the finale?
Need to have a major lightsaber battle.
Oh yeah, definitely. Last movie of the series, you can't not have a major lightsaber battle.
Now, would you want something more technical or more emotional? Again, Revenge of the Sith or Return of the Jedi, basically.
I actually would love more Attack of the Clone, or actually the first of the the prequels.
Oh, Phantom Menace.
Love the fight between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon against
Duel of the Fates still gives me chills.
Oh yeah.
Oh, can we talk about that? Because we're not just losing Star Wars, or at least the Skywalker saga with this movie. This is the final film of John Williams doing Star Wars.
Yep.
And just a taste from the musical score of this trailer. Can we just pause a minute and talk about how wonderful this world has been and this saga has been because we have been blessed with John fucking Williams? As if the Star Wars main title fanfare theme couldn't get any more epic. We got what we got in the Rise of Skywalker trailer. Or am I wrong in this?
No, you're not wrong.
I mean,
it's definitely got the what I'm going to dub the Williams factor.
And music is such a big part of movies anymore.
It's like the Wasserman factor, but cooler.
You were saying about the music, the importance of music.
Just if done properly, it can make or break a film. You can actually have a mediocre film, but put music in at the right spots, and it becomes, as far as everybody else is concerned, a great film.
Okay.
Having Williams do your music,
okay. Now that
would be something I would love to have done on one of my films. Although the guy I use is really good.
Well, again, John Williams. I mean, he could write an epic score of me going to the bathroom. You give him the Philharmonic and 10 minutes, and I'm gonna be content every time I take a dump. I'm sorry, I don't think I've ever heard a theme, even outside of Star Wars. I don't think I've ever heard a theme John Williams has ever written and composed that I didn't instantly fall in love with. But I mean, there was just something magical about new rendition of the Star Wars main theme from this trailer. It's almost going to be disheartening to go into the theater, sit down, watch the crawl hit, and have the original version of the theme play instead of that version.
There's going to be a second crawl at the end, I guarantee it. It's going to be the last one. It's going to give you all the information of where the
story
universe
goes from there.
went.
Yeah, where the story goes from there.
I don't think so. Since they want to go off and do everything else in that universe, they don't want to lock anything into canon with a crawl.
I kind of agree with Joe on that. I think even though they're calling it the end of the Skywalker saga and they're going to go off to different parts of the universe and different timelines to tell different stories with different characters, I don't see Disney not leaving the door open to episodes 10, 11, and 12 at some point. Maybe not in the near future, but eventually when they start running out of ideas, hey, we can always go back to this. You know, they run out of fucking cherry picking from the extended universe.
I mean, they were happy forever after this. Galaxy was free, but you wanted to do a movie later on because you're going to use the same universe, just
another galaxy and another time.
Man, we wanted to make it that somebody else invaded and screwed around with everybody, but we kind of have to rewrite how we did that canon now.
Yeah, see, because I don't exactly know what Kevin Feige's going to be doing with Star Wars, but I mean, as far as I last understood, we still have the Rian Johnson trilogy, which is supposed to be in a completely different galaxy. It's not even in the original Star Wars galaxy, so that way it doesn't cross over with the Skywalker stuff at all. And then,
what makes it Star Wars?
And then Benioff and Weiss, last reported, is the Old Republic, which is something fans have been screaming about since, the first Knights of the Old Republic released on Xbox. The introduction of the character Darth Revan has had people clamoring for an Old Republic film. And Benioff and Weiss is supposed to do I believe a series of films for it. So, I mean, there's plenty of Star Wars coming, but I imagine that even those wells will run dry eventually. And then finally, whoever's in charge will finally turn around and say, well, what if we revisit 30 years later and see what's happening in the galaxy that consists of Skywalkers? Hence, episode 10. Overall, here's the final question, because we are well over an hour here. The final question I'll ask you guys and get your final impressions here. Overall, how confident are you that this film will do what it really needs to do? This film is intended to wrap up 42 years of storytelling across three trilogies, of course, a couple spin-offs. God knows how many TV shows, whether you want to count the cartoons like Ewoks and droids and stuff, or if you just want to count the stuff that is canon like Clone Wars and Rebels. Just a whole bunch of story has been given to this franchise for 40 plus years, and this film not only needs to connect the sequel trilogy, not only has to win back to fans that it lost from Last Jedi and Solo, but it has to connect everything together in a grandiose way. In your opinions, does this film deliver?
I mean, from what the trailer, I think it has the potential to deliver, but honestly, I can't tell you.
It needs to live up to the hype of the trailer.
I agree. It's got to connect to the trailer. It's got to live up to the hype of the trailer. I'm not one of those people that's going to be disappointed if it doesn't, but I know this film has a need to be the greatest Star Wars film ever made.
That would be Star Wars. Not A New Hope, not Episode 4. Star Wars. The way I saw it in 1977.
Well, no, I agree, but I'm saying this movie
Need to end it on a high. If they're going to end this line.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think this movie has a good chance, like Zypher says. I think it has a good chance of delivering what it needs to deliver. But of course, it's going to have its haters and everything else, and that's the big thing. So, really, at the end of the day, I'm going to say to our listeners and stuff, go see the movie. Judge for yourself. Don't pay attention to critics. Don't pay attention to internet talking heads. Don't even pay attention to us. Don't let us influence your opinion of the movie. Go see the movie for yourself. Evaluate your own opinion. And at the end of the day, enjoy it because it's a movie. And celebrate the fact that we've had this saga for 40 plus years.
I would add an addendum to what Chris said and say definitely pay attention to us and like and subscribe if you can, but you don't have to agree with us.
Fair enough.
I like that. That's really a good way to say it.
Yeah, there you go.
Because we already know that Chris has completely knocked 2 fan bases out of here today. More Fets will be listening to us, and we probably lost the Ewok crowd.
Why would we lose the Ewok crowd? I was all for the Ewoks being in Rise of Skywalker.
You didn't talk about them strong enough.
Now, if I wanted to alienate...
Notice how I never said Boba Fett wasn't a badass character. I just said he was not the badass character that he wound up being later on in the series when he was first introduced.
Look, if I want to alienate everybody, I would turn around and say the third act gets an army battle with Gungans. And that's how we cancel Realm of the Mist. All right.
Boss Nash shows up.
Misa thinking use it in big doo-doo. And speaking of big doo-doo, Joe, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
You can find me, Joe Cahill, director, producer, over on Facebook, or Steamhouse Entertainment, my company, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and please go check us out and go check out all our movies that are listed that we're working on right now. Thanks.
And Zephyr.
You can find me on as host of Press A Gaming every other Friday on Realm of the Mist. You can also find me over on our sister channel, Sounds Dicey, playing Billy Knoll. And any other podcast Chris happens to rope me into at any given time.
As long as
That'll be exactly what he just said. Anything else Chris wants me doing?
You never know. And of course, you can find me here on Realm of the Mist podcast or co-hosting Breaking the Fourth Wall, as well as occasionally appearing on other podcasts of Realm of the Mist Entertainment, right here on the YouTube channel. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and of course, go check out our sister channel, Sounds Dicey Gaming, where you find me playing Ferran Takehthonalis, the extremely neurotic drow. And hosting the other D&D game that we play once in a great while, Four Corners of Hell. And of course, guys, you can find the audio versions of these podcasts on Anchor.fm or wherever quality podcasts can be heard. Guys, thank you again for hanging out with us. You will get into more detail of this through Realm of the Mist Entertainment by checking out our Star Wars show, War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast, where I'm sure John Tolley and Ray Rumsey will be sitting down and breaking down this trailer. And Joe Cahill, excuse me, Joe is a host of War of the Stars. We'll be breaking this trailer down in ways that I didn't even dream of. So... guys, go make sure you check that out, and we'll see you at the movie theater. May the Force be with you.
Make sure to like and subscribe.